This is SportsCenter.
Yes, it is. Hannah Storm and Jay Harris with you, and big quarterback news to start the show.
Yeah, right. Breaking news into SportsCenter. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford has agreed to a restructured deal to stay in Los Angeles. The Rams had given Stafford permission to speak to other teams about potential contracts. Those talks eventually led the two sides back to each other. In their 4 years together, Stafford has led LA to 3 playoff appearances and that Super Bowl win in Super Bowl 56. Senior NFL insider Adam Schefter joins us now from the Combine with the latest. So, Adam, what more can you tell us about how the two sides came to an agreement to move forward together?
Well, Hannah, this is a long-running saga that's been going on in recent weeks. And once the Rams gave Matthew Stafford permission to solicit offers from other teams, he went out and found there was more money in the market. The Raiders were interested. The Giants were interested. The Steelers were interested. Other teams were interested. But ultimately, in the end, when push came to shove and other teams at various points came close to trying to entice the Rams into making a trade, ultimately, Matthew Stafford didn't want to leave Los Angeles, and the Rams didn't want him to leave Los Angeles. And both sides decided that they were better off sticking with each other than going their separate ways. So ultimately, they agreed to that restructured deal. Matthew Stafford arrived in the Rams facility at about 6:30 a.m. Pacific Coast time, 9:30 Eastern. They went into meetings all day and agreed to move forward despite any of the talks that have occurred with other teams, any trade proposals that have been had with other teams. The Rams and Stafford decided to run it back for at least another season.
And so at least another season, that's all we know, I guess, at this point, right, about the length of the deal. So at least another season. But let me ask you this. This is the first big domino to fall, as we all know. So you mentioned a few teams. You mentioned the Giants, you mentioned the Raiders, and you mentioned the Steelers, all in need of a quarterback. What does this mean for them going forward? What should or could we expect?
Well, Hannah, I think everybody was waiting to see what would happen with this particular situation and how the Matthew Stafford situation played out. Now that he's back with the Rams, other teams can do what they need. Every one of them was waiting to see if there was a chance they would get Matthew Stafford. Now that the Raiders haven't, they can pursue other avenues, including potentially maybe Russell Wilson. The Giants are going to explore other veteran quarterback options that include Aaron Rodgers staying in the New York area. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been talking to Russell Wilson and Justin Fields all along. So now that we know that Matthew Stafford is staying with the Rams, these other teams can go ahead and start making their quarterback plans. But everybody was waiting for the Matthew Stafford domino to fall. Now that it's fallen, these other teams' quarterback offseason activities will begin to pick up.
Aaron Rodgers staying in the New York area. Just can't imagine the frenzy of following that story. But Matthew Stafford, we know, at least one more year in L.A. They certainly would have been a worse team, regardless of anything, had he walked out the door. Adam Schefter, thank you.
Hey, Hannah, since the Rams traded for Matthew Stafford ahead of the 2021 season, he has been among the elite quarterbacks in the league, ranking in the top 10 in QBR, touchdowns, and yards per attempt. He's also gotten it done in the playoffs, winning 5 games as a starter, and again punctuated by winning Super Bowl 56. Mike Tannenbaum joining us now to break down the news. Mike, as a former GM, what do you think of the move?
It's an absolute no-brainer. This is an absolute marriage of convenience for both sides. They were 20 yards away from being the Philadelphia Eagles last year. And at 37 years old, if I'm Matthew Stafford and I'm being protected at the 6th best rate in the NFL, Jay, I'm going absolutely nowhere. We're a young, productive team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Our window to win is right now. And if I'm the Rams, what am I going to do? Look at Aaron Rodgers, who's 4 years older, and even though he played well a year ago, why would we mess with something that's working? So I think this is something that made sense for both sides.
Yeah, what would the alternatives have been for the Rams had they not gotten this done?
Yeah, Jay, you're in a win-now mode with this team, so I think Aaron Rodgers had to go to the top of that list. And if I'm Sean McVay and Les Snead, Jay, I'm saying I got Matthew Stafford at 37, who's playing really good football, and I got Aaron Rodgers, who at the end of the season is going to be 42 years old, who just doesn't move nearly as well. So when I look at Stafford and Rodgers back-to-back, this is a no-brainer for the Rams. Look, they had to bump up his salary, which he deserved. But again, what's best for them? Let's keep it the nucleus together, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and let's go beat Philadelphia in 2025.